Well, no, it's great. So I put a call out for like speakers to come to this event, and it's all suggested Polly. And then the day after, we ended up like sitting next to each other in Bristol. She was like weird and magical. So, yeah, thank you for coming along.
It's a pleasure. It's great to be here.
Are you ready to go?
I am ready to go.
Round of applause.
When? So, I'm Polly. This is my story about the power of food. This is me 10 years ago in my office. I was a extreme sports apparel photographer. Sounds fancy, doesn't it? It was fancy. It was a pretty peachy life, to be honest. I lived most of the time in the mountains chasing athletes around in the snow. Dreamy, or what? It's a pretty dangerous environment to be in. I never got afraid. It was pretty high energy. I spent all of my days looking at that view, carrying about 32 kilograms of kit. So I wasn't an athlete, but I trained like one. The photographer is always the person that's in the most dangerous, precarious position because you're always pushing things to get to the best shot. So I was pretty brave. I didn't see myself as that at the time. And I was mentally really super strong and super well. This is how I spent my summers, chasing cyclists around the mountains. I used to cycle from France through Italy to Spain at the end of the season just for shits and giggles because I could. I was super, super, super fit. And I took it for granted. I never really asked myself, you know, or appreciated how well I felt and how strong I felt until I found myself on this ledge, afraid, petrified, thinking I was going to fall. A simple dog walk had turned into a mountain rescue situation. I literally could not move. Out of nowhere, I'd just become frightened. I was absolutely in agony, which had been coming on for a few weeks, a few months, and I got really bad arthritis, really bad brain fog. I was literally scared to leave the house. I had to hang up my cycling shoes, hang up my camera, and I thought I would never ski again. I was petrified to ride a chairlift. I was seeing lots of doctors at the time who all told me I was a 36-year-old female that needed to get a family, find a hobby, and get a life. Well, I had a life, you've seen it, it was fantastic. And something inside me was like, no, there's something going on. And then the shit really hit the fan. I found myself in a train station. I didn't know who I was. I didn't know what the ticket machine was. I didn't know where I was or where I was going. And I just sat down on the floor and cried. I was in a lot of pain then with arthritis and lots of other autoimmune that just always puts me off. I hate looking at it. But so I woke up in hospital 6 months later. 7 doctors all stood around me going, who had all told me there was nothing wrong with me at the time, and this is what I look like. And they said to me, we need to know when the last time you felt well was, because you have no gut wall left, and you have no protective tissue on any organ. And we've never seen anybody with a body like this, and we don't know how you're alive and still walking. So I tracked it back to that day and that mountain, the slide you saw before, and that was the last time I felt well. And I said, well, a strange thing happened that day. I got bitten by a spider, but I never really thought anything of it because I was too busy being super strong and brave. And I did get better, and I'd not thought about it since. And they were like, oh, there you go. You've got post-viral fatigue from a spider bite, which any human can get from anything. Lots of us have had it now because of COVID. I thought, great, I'm going to get a diagnosis, I'm going to get some drugs. But no, the drugs don't work. I was told that I may not live for very long, and if I did live, I would always be in a wheelchair. I wouldn't be able to walk, probably wouldn't be able to think. This is when I learned about this organ, the gut, and specifically the gut wall. The gut wall needs real food and nourishment. It is responsible for taking everything we eat and using it as fuel and fuel to every part of your body. Without a functioning gut wall, you cannot be happy, and you cannot be safe, and you cannot be strong, and you cannot fight disease. my life got very dark and I felt like I was on that ledge every day of my life. I couldn't even get out of the house, I was so petrified. But I was super lucky. I met a really incredible doctor, an American rheumatologist of Chinese origin. He took me for a bone broth soup and a green juice and said to me, everything you need to heal is in those 2 plates of food. Food is either power or poison, and you have to choose power. So he introduced me to the blue zones, which are 5, actually now 4, but 5 at the time, areas of the world where they don't eat any processed food. They still eat the food from the ground they live on. They still cook on fire and eat as a community. And they have no autoimmune diseases. They live the longest and the most happy lives. So I started to live like them. And that's why we now run a company called Jolly Allotment, because this is where we went to be jolly. We started to grow our own food and really reconnect to it, cook everything on fire. But everything I chose to eat had to be full of power and not poison. This is Phil. He made my medicine. He basically breeds these chickens that without the bone broth, I wouldn't be stood here talking to you today. He actually plays them the banjo every morning. So I was really lucky to meet some really super producers who could really feed me some super nutrients. But what stuck me with was, the doctor had said to me, the further away from food we get, the more we process it, the closer to poison it gets. And it's basically destroying everyone's gut walls. And I was like, God, what if we all changed the way we eat? Think how powerful we would be as a human race. So now this is what I do. I go around and tell people not to eat it, Rex, but to eat really good, wholesome food. Drink bone broth and ask yourself every time you eat, is it power or is it poison, and choose wisely. Thank you.